Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Before we start today's episode, I want to remind everybody that first you need to subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel. You can watch the show on YouTube, Gunstreamer, and on the Ops Lens app, and you can listen to the show, but it is really super important that we get you to subscribe to the channel on YouTube and that you hit the notification bell. If you'd like to support the show, you can actually buy some Riding Shotgun with Charlie patches and some Riding Shotgun and some Gungram stickers. You can find these at the ridingshotgunwithcharlie.com page. You can also buy t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs at teespring.com/riding shotgun with Charlie. Now, this is going to be kind of fun. We have someone making an entrance, a big fancy entrance here. We're going to have him get in the car. He's got something to show off. I've only had two people not carry guns, but carry shotguns. One was actually an MP5 airsoft gun, and the other person had a pump-action shotgun after a hunting event. But right now, what we're going to do is we are going to have Mike Piwowarski from Arms Room Radio hop in the car, and Mike is going to be riding shotgun and carrying a shotgun. Let's check out this bad boy that you've got here.
This is all safety. There we go.
Finger off the trigger, safe direction, check and make sure it's unloaded.
This is my Serbu Super Shorty.
Dude, we are not in Massachusetts anymore. Now, you've got this. You can have this because you have an FFL 07, so you can have a short-barreled shotty.
Well, you can have this in Florida also. This is a Class 3. This is an AOW, any other weapon. It's only a $5 tax stamp, so as long as you're allowed to have Class 3 weapons, it's you can have it. And the reason it's any other weapon and not a short barrel is because it came from the factory with the pistol grip on it.
Okay.
So the manufacturer then cut the barrel down. So he did not make it it was a pistol grip shotgun to start. So when it became a short pistol grip shotgun, that's an any other weapon, not a short barrel shotgun.
Gotcha.
So $5 tax stamp.
Always an education. Let's see this guy. This is totally cool. We are not in Massachusetts, baby. Oh my God. That is too cool. And you potty up.
Just pull it down. Just pull it the spring down.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, we're good. It's just really tight. It's really tight. We just...
You got to pull it down and then pop it back.
There
gotcha. All right, Mike Piwowarski is officially riding really shotgun. Riding short barrel. Any other weapon?
AOW.
AOW. He's riding AOW shotgun. All right, so today we have Mike Piwowarski from Arms Room Radio. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, it's a pleasure, Charlie.
I'm finally glad we can pull this off.
Yeah.
And we're in your hometown neck in Orlando, Florida. And, all right, now let's pull into traffic. We're in the safest car in Orlando. Love it. All right, so we're on, I don't know where we're at, but you're going to have to give me some sort of directions so we can get back to where we're supposed to go.
Yep.
All right, tell us about yourself. You have a long history of military experience and firearm police experience.
Yes.
And then you owned a gun store, and Arms Room turned into Arms Room Radio.
Yeah.
And now you have a nationally syndicated radio show.
Yeah, craziness. I come from that military and law enforcement family, and ended up, of course, I'm never going to do what my parents do, right? And then you grow up and you do exactly the same thing that your parents did, right?
You don't know anything else.
Exactly right. Grew up with firearms around, from the law enforcement side. Military, they didn't bring it home, obviously, but it was always there. Firearms always present in my life, and safety in firearms always present in my life. we'll go left. From there, we end up in, like I said, me in the military, and that was on and off between active and reserve components for over 20 years.
Damn.
And I think I'm finally out, but sometimes I get a phone call that says, guess what?
Oh, by the way, we haven't processed the paperwork.
Exactly right. So we'll see how that works out.
It's government at work, baby.
Right.
Government at work.
Law enforcement was great. You know, I got out of that about 10 years ago. I started early and finished early because, listen, I love the people working with, you know, the public. It's just, the politics started just getting dumped into law enforcement about 10 years ago, and had the opportunity to try different things, and that was opening up a gun store. I had my own FFL at the time as kind of a hobby FFL. I was building ARs for other you know, police officers, and well, actually got told by a friend of mine in the ATF. He's like, you know, if you're building them, you should have a manufacturer license.
Right.
So I did, and that little hobby turned into the arms room, and we flourished for a good 8-10 years, and then I got, well, you know, like, kind of like the law enforcement, I got tired of the regulation and the nonsense. Not breaking the law, and I'm not doing anything crazy like that. Just, you know, sometimes you need a break. It still exists. We do maintenance contracts and things like that now for different agencies. And
Florida used to be more free America than it is.
Yeah, we had after the shooting down in Parkland at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, we had the knee-jerk response, much like you had after Sandy Hook up by you, where Florida just slapped together a bunch of ridiculous restrictions on firearms, and including many of the Republicans in the state, and our former governor, current senator Rick Scott, all signed off on it. Watched Florida become one of the top couple of states in gun rights, down to about the middle of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. It was the first one that had not a carry permit, but reciprocity with more states. Correct.
Yeah, when back in '86, Florida was the first one to have that nationally recognized a concealed carry permit. You know, we didn't have one prior to then. There was a lot of mixed match of laws all over the state. Florida kind of tightened that up with its first version of preemption, and we ended up with the concealed carry permit. But the swap off to get it, though, was we gave up open carry to get the concealed carry permit, and because the thought was, don't worry, we'll just get it next year. Well, you know, here we are, you know, 37 years later or whatever it is, and we still don't have it. But
so Florida had all these. You had to give up open carry to get a permit.
Correct.
And have some reciprocity.
Correct. So that's where we've been fighting that for 37 years. But listen, along the way, you know, we got the opportunity to do arms room radio, which is a funny story. You know, we hang out a lot. You see how the conversation was when we were around. Yeah. Well, I had a friend who was a radio DJ here in Orlando. We used to hang out with when I was a young law enforcement officer. He moved on, promoted sales, different kind of stuff, and ended up coming back and walking into our gun store about 7.5 years ago. And we just all started hanging out again, and him being he's a friend, but he's also a salesman. Come on, you guys have to have a show. You need to have a show. This is great, because it would be what we do when we're all together. We sit around and we talk gun stuff. Yap it up. And this should be a show. This should be a show. After about 6 months, we relented and said, okay. And we did the first 2 episodes, and it just sounded like a horrible infomercial. And I was sitting with my good friend, attorney Kevin Maxwell, who's a big gun guy, and 1 or 2 of the other guys from the store. And we said, if we're going to do this, let's do this for real. I'm not worried about. I don't want to sound gimmicky. I don't want to sound like a paid advertisement. Right. And let's just go in there and talk topics, and you know, we'll figure out advertising later. And that's what we did. And inside of 6 months, they bumped us from an hour to 2 hours. We were on 6 stations. And now here we are 7 years later on, last count was 25 stations that I knew of. Wow. You know, getting 100,000 people listening a week to us, and it's been a fun ride. That is totally cool.
Totally cool. So did you guys start off like when you did the radio show, and you were just starting off? Was it one of these, you know, you pay to play sort of things? Was it a local station that said, hey, we need some programming for two-way stuff?
They did. We had to pay a little bit, and I consider myself a pretty shrewd negotiator. So we got down to where we were paying basically for access fees to the production time.
Gotcha.
But like I said, inside of that 6 months, we'd had advertising sign on to where we don't pay for anything anymore.
That's awesome.
I mean, listen, we're not getting rich on it. It's radio business, I'll tell you that right now. But it's enough to where we get to go to events and see each other, and I don't have to pay for those events.
That's the way, man. And make it a biz, you get to write it off. It took me. Don't have much of a business sense, and when I started to become a gun instructor, I eventually started to realize, hey, I can write all this stuff off.
Right.
I can buy ammo, I can buy guns, I can buy magazines and gear, and take classes and write it off on my taxes.
Right.
That's pretty sweet. That is cool, man.
It's fun stuff. I enjoy it. We and again, we travel. It's would be remiss. Let's see. I'm one of 3 on the show. One of with a 4th part timer. It's me. It's again attorney Kevin Maxwell. Earl is my right hand man. He's literally the great grandson of Daniel Boone. And we say that on the show every time we introduce him. You've heard us say it. He's the 7th grandson. And every time I go somewhere, whether it's the event we were just out, or we go to NRA or SHOT Show, and the first thing people do is they come up to me and they go, "Oh my God, Arms Room Radio, is Earl really the great grandson? And where is he?" And I'm like, "Okay, he's not here, but yes, it's true.
It's true. He's easy to recognize. He's got a beard down to here, hat out to here. Usually, he's got chewing tobacco that's about this big.
Yep. He's it's his thing. It's his.
That's cool, man.
Yep. And
that's too cool.
And then we have part-time on the show is my brother. He's a major in law enforcement here in the state of Florida, and he's Major Bill. He calls in with his little view on what's going on. He likes to give us that law enforcement view, and I think that's kind of been our niche. We coming for most of us coming from the law enforcement military side. Now you have the attorney on his side. You have the Earl is the industry man. You know, he's been the firearms instructor, running gun stores and doing all of that. So we bring a little bit to it, but
that's cool.
We find that we definitely lean far right, and we definitely back the blue and back the green and everybody else, and it's been again, pleasant surprise for who wants to hear what I gotta say.
Right. So. Yeah, it's always cool when people come up and they're they say they like the show or listen to you and all that sort of stuff. Have you had people ask you, this is a ridiculous question, when I was a kid and I listened to radio and I would finally see a radio person in person, I was always like, that's never what they don't look like how they sound.
Yeah, we get we get a little bit more fortunate this day where it's you could go to the internet and see us. We all have our websites, but I'll tell you, I mean, can't tell you the number of times it's happened. Orlando, it didn't start off that way. We were in a really small market in Orlando, really small station in Orlando, but in other big cities we were on. We'd go to Atlanta, we'd go to Indianapolis, out to Texas, and we would go to an event there. Like I remember we went to Indianapolis to NRA up there a couple years ago, and we went to the Hooters restaurant for right outside the convention center
because the wings are great.
Exactly. Well, I love the wings. And I'm there with a couple of the sponsors. I'm there with people from our Second Amendment community, and when she asks me what would I like to order, and I start to talk, she says, "Oh my God, you're Mike from Arms Room Radio," and I'll get that a lot. We'll be somewhere and we start to talk. I'll get as soon as the voice opens up, they're like, "Hey, I think that's." And so it's very, very, very minor celebrity status on, in a very, very, very small niche of the radio community.
Totally, it's still pretty cool though.
Yeah,
it's still pretty cool. We were talking last night. You were telling some stories, hard to believe, over some bourbon and cigars.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Statute of limitations is not passed. You were talking about being in the Middle East.
Oh boy,
and giving people some firearms so that they could protect themselves.
Yeah. Again, I've been a big gun person for.
I don't know why these people are honking at me.
Well, it's Orlando. That's what you do. The problem with Orlando is nobody's from here.
Maybe she recognized your voice. Who knows?
Yeah, that's right. The problem with Orlando is nobody's from here, so they all drive differently.
Oh my God.
I know. I'd always been a big gun person. Always been around firearms. It was always I would say part of the gun community because I was a gun owner. I was not part of the Second Amendment community, just sheerly from lack of knowledge at that point. I knew I was going to defend myself, defend those around me, but had never gotten into the fight that we're in. And as activists that we are. And I was in Afghanistan with with my troops. We did a lot of house-to-house stuff. We did a lot of vehicle-to-vehicle checkpoints. But we would always, when you would talk to somebody to figure out if they were on the good team or the bad team. Right. When you determined they were on the good team, you left that family with their AK-47 because they pretty much all had them. Right. Now they probably gained them over the years to protect themselves, but when we got there, we would determine, is this a good guy or a bad guy? And if they were a good guy, you left him with an AK-47. It's their full auto AK-47 because they don't have none of that semi-auto crap that we have here.
Right, we're not neutered.
So he's using that firearm for defense against the Taliban, the defense against a criminal element, defense against his own rogue government, and you realize that we're giving him this rifle back to protect himself from tyranny, is what it is. It's
really what it comes down to.
And it was kind of an eye-opening thing. It was like realizing what had gone on, in 1775 in this country. It was like, I get it. I mean, you hear about tyranny all the time, but what's tyranny? Well, I firsthand witnessed active tyranny.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. And hearing people, hearing all of the stuff that's going on in our country now, where they want to take our rights and they want to seize this, and it's the salami method of gun control. It's all right. Well, we're going to take 30-round mags. We're going to take 15-round mags. Yep. You don't need a 10-round mag. You probably shouldn't have 7 rounds in that magazine. You should probably just have a 5-shot J-frame. You know what? If you have the Joe Biden special, the double-barrel shotgun, and then it turns into, well, if you can't shoot a guy with one shot. If you can't shoot a guy with one shot, you probably shouldn't even own a gun. Yeah, you know what? It's not about any of that.
It's exactly right. It's about controlling you and making sure you can't defend yourself for the one day that they decide they want to do something more to you than is currently allowed.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, man. That is ridiculous. Yeah, I think that was cool how you put that together. You're giving them an AK for their own.
It was really, like I said, it was an awareness moment. It was an awakening. It was, wow, okay, I get exactly what. Oh yeah, I get tyranny now. I knew the book definition, and then we knew what was going on there. But then handing them of that firearm for them to be able to say, oh, and protect themselves. You're like, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
No kidding.
Let's go right up here.
Okay. What was I thinking? Law enforcement.
Yeah.
You were with Florida. What was it? What do you guys call it?
With the county and then with the state here in the state of Florida. Yep.
Were you with the? It's not the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife.
No, Department of Law Enforcement.
Department of Law Enforcement.
Yeah, one of their task force guys. Yeah.
I think it's. Last night when you were talking about it, I thought it was. You guys don't call it the Division of Fishery and Wildlife.
Oh yeah, it's the fishing game, Florida fishing game.
Fishing game, that's right. Those, this is wild to me that they seem to have in Massachusetts. It seems like the what's the word I'm looking for? The police officers for the Fisheries and Wildlife have more power than regular police do.
In Florida, for the most part, that's true because Game and Fish deals with. So much more protected areas than everybody else, so they have special rules where, all right, you can't do certain things with a certain firearm because you got a spotlight in your car, which would never normally be a big deal, and they do have administrative code they also enforce as well as state law, so they do have a little bit more authority to do things. Yeah,
that's pretty wild. That is pretty wild. Yeah. So, Arms from Radio, you guys started off in a radio station.
Yes.
And did you think about being a podcast? Is it a podcast? Is it?
We get asked that a lot. We get asked it all the time, and it's an honest question we get from people, that have never heard from us or
right, because there's so many radio shows that turn into a podcast. My show's in video. John Petrolino, I like to shout this out to John Petrolino. He listened to the show. He listened to Writing Shotgun in podcast until about 6 months ago, and he had no idea
that there was video.
That it was video.
That's great.
None, because he heard me as a guest on another show,
right? And
then he started listening to the podcast version because he's got more time to listen to podcasts than he can to just sit down and watch a show. So when I'm talking to people that are podcasters, I'm always like, the podcast is an afterthought.
Yeah.
You guys are podcasters. Yeah. I make video. I put the audio out as a podcast so people can listen to it.
Right.
And it's, I don't want to say it's not the same.
It is different. So I'm a radio. We do actual radio. We do terrestrial radio. We do again. We're on the minimum 25 stations that we know about. And when I say minimum, we're put up on a satellite system, one of the satellite distributors, and there are plenty of other radio stations around the country that pull us down as filler. And so we're not on a regular schedule. I'll hear from people all the time that, yeah, I was listening to you last night in Milwaukee. I'm like, well, we're not on Milwaukee. They're like, well, no, you are. You were on at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. This is where they had you for the last couple of weeks. Really, what station?
Right, and we'd like to know.
Yeah, and we'll call the station and we tell them, listen, yeah, listen, we'll send you swag, we'll send you stuff, just let us know, because I guess there's some out there that are afraid that we're going to call and demand that they pay.
Right.
So,
that would be nice too.
It would be nice, but I'll take the free airtime for now as well.
Oh my God,
so,
absolutely. That's yeah.
So we'll take those our shows after they air, which is 2 hours a week, and then we'll put them up on the website. And it's on every place you can get to the podcasts. You download the iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. I'm sure I'm missing all the other ones that we're on. But that's where a lot of people get us from. They like to listen when they can listen. They like to listen when they have the time. So I get that all the time. Are you a podcaster? And to me, it's not a podcast. I wish there was a word for rebroadcast. Something along those lines. Because a podcast,
radio.
With a radio show, we have set times. I've got to make breaks. We've got to have the proper production.
Breaks.
It's a podcast. It's good production value. I'm not saying it's not, but they turn the switch on, and when they're done, they turn the switch off.
Mm-hmm.
We've got so much to do and so many places to be, and you miss those times, you lose stations over it.
What do they call that?
You get the hard breaks and advertise.
Yeah, it's appointment listening on radio.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, we're a podcast because there's not another term for rebroadcast.
There we go. I think it's kind of interesting that podcast stuck. I mean, the podcast came from the iPod,
right?
And it's just kind of, hey, you can listen to radio shows,
right,
on your pod. So we're just gonna slap the Apple I in front of it. And call it an iPod or podcast.
Right.
Podcast stuff. Yeah, it's wild. Policing gun room, FFL 07. You still maintain the 07, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's so you can have the cool toys.
Yep. Well, again, this is a personal ownership in Florida.
That's
personal ownership on a $5 tax stamp.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I went through the process in Massachusetts to get a machine gun license.
Okay.
And I know people might be shocked that you can have a machine gun license in Massachusetts. And the process is you have to be a bona fide collector or a police trainer.
Okay.
And I spent the whopping $30 to get my FFL 03 to get a Carry-On Relic license.
Right.
And then after that, I'm going to say I got that in the mail on a Tuesday. And on Wednesday, I went down to the police station and said, I'd like to apply for a machine gun license. And they said, okay, when's available? Here's the times we have. So I went out on a Friday morning. They fingerprinted me. They took my check for $100. They did their necessary background checks. And 5 weeks later, like 5 weeks to the day, I got a phone call. And the lady says, I'm looking for Charles Cook. I'm like, this is? She's like, I've never seen one of these before. Who is this? And she's like, oh, it's the police station. I'm like, oh, cool. She's like, yeah, your gun license came in, but it's got a little green strip on it, and I've never seen the green strip before. I'm like, oh, that's the machine gun license. She's like, oh, okay. I've never seen a machine gun license.
Wow.
You're the only person in town with one. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. If I had $30,000 to buy one,
right,
I'd take you shooting. So yeah, it's in the ridiculous, the infringement in Massachusetts is ridiculous. With we can't even with the tax stamp, you can't have the suppressors.
It's crazy. You and I were talking about it last night, where I've had to go to Massachusetts, Boston, about 8-10 years ago. I had a relative getting married up there, and I'm originally from Northeast, from New York City. Yep.
New York City.
I know I'm down here in Florida now, and yes, sir. I went back up there. My cousin was getting married centrally. His fiance was from up in Maine, and and so we figured we'd all meet in Boston, and we did. And I remember walking around wanted to see the things I wanted to see in Boston. I went and saw the baseball game. I'm a huge baseball fan.
Got to go to Fenway.
Yep, and it just so happened that my Mets were in town, and I got to see a game there at the Park.
The Park. That one Fenway Park.
And I went for the history. I saw the where Cheers was made.
Bull and Finch,
yeah,
that's Beacon Street.
One of my, it was great. It was just to sit in there and.
It looks, for people who haven't been there, the Cheers bar where the show was based off of looks like the show on the outside.
Yeah.
Nothing like it on the inside.
And what they showed us was exactly right. It's nothing like that on the inside. But then in the back room, they kind of built a small section of.
They're kind of like that.
Yeah, kind of like that. But yeah, you walk in and you're like, this is not it.
Right, we're looking for Norm.
Yeah. Yep.
Nothing.
The staircase going down is it. That's perfect.
That is it.
But then I was walking around Liberty Square and reading all the history, and it talked about the birth of a nation. The Lexington and Concord happened just down the road here. It started
Lexington and Concord.
Oh, sorry, Concord, Lexington and Concord. And here I am standing where I stand. If I have a 2-inch pocket knife in my pocket, I'm going away for a felony. No firearms allowed, no knives allowed, at the place where the shot was heard around the world.
It's nuts, man. It is nuts. It's it is cool that all that stuff has it happened there and started there.
Yep.
And the infringements that we have in Massachusetts are just nuts. We have we had the federal assault weapon ban in '94, and then in 1998, Massachusetts permanently adopted the assault weapon ban.
Right.
We have magazine restrictions. In 2016, we have 2 assault weapon bans in Massachusetts. We have the '94, which was permanent in '98, and then in 2016, our AG, the anti-gun attorney general, decided that it was if it looks like an AR, it is an AR.
Yeah.
Unless it's a 1522, then that's not an AR because 22s can't be assault weapons.
Right.
And then so they had to start making fixed mags ARs with 10-round magazines. And then when if you want to load it, you have to pop it up and put in 10 rounds, or you get one of these little speed loaders that loads only 10 rounds. So, oh my God. And this is where all this stuff started?
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
It's horrible. I mean, it's just. It dumbfounded me standing there. It just to realize how far it had come, and how this was the fight for tyranny starts right here. Oh, and by the way, we're not going to allow you to protect yourself where you stand.
Right. It is so ridiculous, man. So, as a Massachusetts guy, here's what I find crazy about the Florida stuff.
Okay.
Because I'm a Utah instructor.
Right.
People ask me, I hear the argument, well, you should get the Florida permit because it's easier. And Utah This is what I've noticed about the difference between Utah and Florida. In Utah, you get Washington State, you do not get New Mexico. With Florida, you get New Mexico, you do not get Washington State.
Right.
South Carolina, you can carry in South Carolina if you're a Florida resident.
Right.
You cannot carry with the Utah permit. The Utah permit's $63.25.
Right.
The Florida permit's $97.
Yes. That's just come down. Yeah.
Say that again?
It was higher. It was higher before.
Yeah, it used to be like $117.
Yep.
It's $97. It's $87 to renew the Florida permit.
Yep.
It's only $25 to renew the Utah permit.
Yep. This
is what gets me. You have to do live firing. According to some of the things you read in Florida, some things you don't have to do live firing. They'll take a hunter ed class. And our buddy Kevin Sona said he did the live fire portion, firing 1 round, I think he said, of a Glock 19 in his house into a bullet trap from the instructor. One round of live fire in his house, qualified for live fire, and he was able to get his Florida carry permit.
Here's Florida's got some crap laws, that's for sure. I like you, I have the Florida permit. I have a Nevada, which gets me certain, and I have that Utah, which gets me a couple more. But I just renewed my my Utah and I watched the video online and paid my $25.
$25.
Now, when I got my original Utah, it was an 8-hour class. You had to sit and go there. But Florida's requirements for firearms certification, getting your safety awareness and education done is convoluted at best. And it reminds me of ATF regulations where it's not so much what's written, it's so much what the opinion of the person is. That's checking your paperwork. There's no requirement, there was no requirement to shoot in Florida to get your permit. And then somebody came along NRA, and wanted to make a little more money, and they put in there the requirement to shoot. So what you would have is the gun shows in Florida. Prior to that, we're doing just turning out, you know, it was a manufacturing facility for concealed weapons permits. You'd walk in there, they'd have the class running in a loop on the video, and at the same time, you would just be filling out your paperwork. And when you were done filling out your application paperwork, you walked over, got your picture taken, they did the live scan on the fingerprints, and then you walked up and you were done, and you'd received your training.
Unbelievable.
So they put
at a gun show.
And that would run about 45 minutes, because there is no time length on the class. Also in Florida, it just says these things shall be covered.
Right.
And as they were running in a loop in the background, there's no requirement for a test either, so we didn't have to test them to see if they knew it.
The test I usually ask, when people ask me about a test, I say the test, it says cash or check.
Yeah. So then Florida decided we need to put shooting into it, and but again, no course of fire, no pass or fail.
Right.
Shooting. Most places that teach a legitimate 4-hour, 8-hour class, they have a range qualification. They give you a written test. That's what you see with your competent instructors. When you don't have that, you end up with, now at the gun show, because we have to go and do a range qualification, we bring in a pistol with a 20, or maybe a 22 pistol with a suppressor on it, and a bucket of sand. And now you pull the trigger on one bullet, and they go bang. Okay, you met the state's requirement. Because the state said you have to shoot a live fire firearm.
That's crazy. Here's what I don't. We have a guy in Massachusetts who's been pushing this for a while, but his new push is 5 hours of live firing with a minimum of 50 rounds of ammunition. So I always ask people, I'm like, okay, so there's a guy pushing for this 5 rounds. What do you do for the other 4 hours and 45 minutes? Like you shoot a magazine and then watch a movie and then shoot another magazine. Like you can watch. Oh my God, War and Peace. You can watch Titanic.
Yeah, that's right.
During the gun class. It's crazy, man. Crazy.
Ridiculous.
All right, listen. We need to wrap things up. I do want to give you a Riding Shotgun with Charlie patch. Pam, which you can get at the writingshotgunwithcharlie.com. Stickers, gungrams, Riding Shotgun stickers. How can people find all of you and your stuff? We'll put links to everybody.
It's armsroomradio.com. Best way to get us, go to armsroomradio.com. You can see it there. We've got the Facebook, the Twitters, the MyFace, all that stuff. We've got it out there. But the best way is just go there and link off of everything at armsroomradio.com. Armsroomradio.com.
You can see the logo, man. Cool. All right, listen, thank you guys for watching this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Please make sure you join the Second Amendment Foundation. SAF.org is their website. You can find all of your pro-freedom podcasts at sdrn.net. No, sdrn.us. That is the Self-Defense Radio Network. Make sure you subscribe to Riding Shotgun with Charlie on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube, on Gunstreamer, on the OpsLens app. You can listen to the show on Spotify, on oh my God, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. I got those out of order and it threw me off. And you can buy some shirts and hoodies and mugs at the Teespring store, teespring.com/store/Riding Shotgun with Charlie. So please make sure you check all that stuff out. Thank you guys for watching this. Mike, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you, Charlie.
We will see you guys next time. Let's get the stagecoach across America.